episode of Come Over for Dinner. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for joining us today. I have a very special guest. Her name is Mallory Berendrecht. She has 4 children ranging in age from 1.5 to 7. Welcome, Mallory.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us. You're going to have to tell us a little bit about yourself, the things that I know. I know she loves sewing. She did one of the tables at a ladies' homemaking fair that our church put on recently. Her topic was sewing.
Yes. Yeah. I'm a big sewer. I kind of, fit it into all the nooks and crannies of my life. And it's fun because it's a creative outlet as I'm a stay-at-home mom. And so I have my sewing machine out on the table all the time. And then just raising the kids, it's a great life here.
Well, I have seen some of the amazing things that she's made too. I mean, the cutest little things I've seen, of course, are for the girls.
Yes, I prefer.
And
yes, I love sewing for girls. I have one daughter, and when she was not even a year, and I was like, I want to be able to sew her really cool things. I was inspired by Becca, because she was
cousin, Becca Merkel.
Yeah, and I was inspired by her sewing protocol dresses for her daughters, and I was like, well, I better start now. So then I did, and then it was like, loved it, and yeah.
I did say girls make it for the girls, but you have 1 girl and 3 boys.
Yeah, 1 girl and 3 boys, and it's really fun. We live out on the outskirts of town, and we now have chickens and cats. Well, cats now we have 6 because our cat just had kittens, and so it's just like a ruckus life out there,
and a very large dog.
Yes, a very large dog. We have a Saint Bernard, and my husband's 6'6". I'm almost 6 feet, so kind of fits in with the family. I feel like.
I think it's the first time. Oh, he does. He fits right in. I have never seen a Saint Bernard in person that I remember. Only in books. So it was just fascinating to see him in real life.
I know. I feel like I'd always wanted a Saint Bernard or a Newfoundland because I like big dogs. But I hadn't seen a lot either. And then we got puppies and oh man.
Well, are they the ones that in the Swiss Alps, they put their rescue dogs, they have a thing around their neck. They know how to dig people out of snow slides.
Yeah, they're rescue dogs. And they had when we got them as puppies, they had like a dew claw on there to help them get up mountains because they're mountain dogs. And I was like, what is that? Is that bad? And it's just like a extra thing to help them climb up mountains, which was cool.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I always wanted one growing up because we had children's storybooks that had them rescuing people.
Yes. Yeah.
And I just thought they were the greatest dog.
Yeah, I know. We really like him. He's a sweetie.
I think in the books you don't really recognize their size.
No.
You spend a pretty penny on that dog food.
Yes, we do.
He seems like a big sweet.
He is. He's really
cuddly dog, though.
Yeah, he's a leaner.
Anyway.
Yeah, but he's very loving.
That's fun. So she is Gordon Wilson's daughter, who is of the
Riot and the Dance
fame.
Yep.
I just want to know if you've eaten bugs.
I have.
Or snakes or
yeah. So it was the best life growing up, just going, like every time we'd hike, my mom would be the point A to point B and my dad would be hanging back, flipping logs. And so, the kids could just be between the two doing whatever, flip logs or, hike fast.
Or having a small break with mom.
And so, I've eaten bugs. I remember eating them at Logos randomly. There was some assembly where I ate bugs, but that wasn't really my dad that did that. That was
were teaching something about it, and they actually passed them around.
Yeah,
and just found
I think it was mealworms. So no, thankfully. Although I did eat a raspberry with a spider on it on purpose, so that I could say that I did that, and I don't know what that was about. So there's that.
Just so you could prove how cool you are.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's pretty cool.
Wow. Yeah. So mealworms at an assembly.
Yes.
That is interesting.
Yes.
Well, your son, I teach your son in 2nd grade, and he's just amazing. He was telling me today about a night that they had last night.
Yep.
Like bug night. He's like, did you go to bug night? I'm like, what is bug night?
It was very exciting. He didn't get to go, but my dad was about to go, and we had dinner with them right before. So it was pretty exciting.
Was it an event put on by New St. Andrews?
Yeah, it was.
Something about talking about bugs.
Yeah, they had a whole bug menu with it was pretty intense.
So, listeners, she is going to share her favorite bug menu for your listening pleasure.
Buckle up.
feast with friends and family.
Exactly. You're welcome.
Well, I'm not sure if I've told this on the podcast yet. The only really strange thing that I've eaten, which I didn't know, I've avoided bugs in my life, and mealworms and raspberries with spiders on them. But my son, he was I think he must have been in 2nd or 3rd grade. He was young elementary, and he came home, flying in the door from school, holding this grass with bulbs on the end, some onions.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, Mom, it was a school not too far from our house. They had a big field, and he's like, Mom, we found wild onions today at school. We dug them up. And I was in the middle of making a vegetable soup that had all the things. You know? I mean, you can put whatever in there. Onion, garlic, carrots, green beans, whatever. I remember. I was just it was just starting to simmer, and he was like, Mom, you've got to put my onions in your soup.
I made these for you.
Yeah, I made these for you, So he's just super proud, eyes glowing. So I take his onions and his little tiny white onions, and I wash them and throw them in the soup. And about an hour later, we're all sitting around to eat, and somehow God knew that my husband needed to eat a late lunch at work and be really full and up, he's apologetic. It was just, I'm just not hungry.
Yeah.
I'm going to eat later.
Yeah.
Y'all just eat and I'll be fine. And so he didn't eat, and it seems like another child didn't eat. But anyway, Mom and multiple kids ate. Within 30 minutes, we were all throwing up at the same time.
No.
I was due to make... The very next day, there was some class party, and I had signed up for all the things, some kind of cupcakes and, I don't know, multiple things. We're all throwing up at exactly the same time. The bathrooms are full. My husband is racing and grabbing bowls. And
gratefully he did not partake.
He has bowls for at least 2 people. Long story short, to get to the end of it, apparently I poisoned the family.
Oh,
no. Inadvertently. I learned my lesson.
Do you know what it was?
It was flower bulbs of some sort.
Oh, okay.
It could have been jonquil bulbs that were coming up. They were not.
They were not. They were not on.
Oh, I just assumed when he came flying in so sure and confident that somehow I pictured the teachers took the students out and they did this scientific gathering. And of course it didn't. Of course that didn't happen. Just on the playground, they're playing for recess, and the kids dig something up, and he's thinking he has little onions,
Yeah.
No, I think it was flower bulbs that are immediately our bodies were like, that's poison, get it out, which was also a blessing because we didn't have to go to the ER.
For sure.
It could have been worse.
Yeah.
But I am so sick, and my husband, but what I thought was, I've got to make cupcakes. I'm going to go to Walmart and buy cupcakes, and the kids don't care, and they won't know, and
they will not care.
And I was just, mortified because I planned homemade cupcakes.
Yes. Oh, I know.
So the next
I know
day,
what you mean.
He had cupcakes, corn dogs, and chips or something, and the kids thought it was the greatest thing ever, the greatest party.
Yeah.
And I had all these fancy things planned.
They don't discriminate as long as it's sweet. When I was little, I used to go in the backyard and get a big plastic ice cream, empty ice cream bin, and fill it with water, and then get all of the edible things from our yard and put them in and make soup. And I thought it was very cool. So I'd put onion grass. That's what reminded me. And then dandelions and other random, I think pansies or violets are edible. And I would eat this soup because it was pretty cool.
At least you were cool enough to know it was edible.
I'm grateful for that now. I'm I could have been eating poison. I didn't know.
Well, apparently I should have.
Oh, dear.
I should have studied biology a little bit closer.
Oh, man.
Oh, but anyway, moving on to things that are not flower bulbs. Don't throw flower bulbs in your soup. Don't experiment with random things your children bring in unless you really do know that they dug up wild onions. We're going to talk about a favorite menu she would serve. And oftentimes we're talking about dinner, but with summer approaching, we are going to talk about something else. We have a very special topic. It is not dinner at all. Tell us what you're going to talk about.
So I am going to talk about tea parties, and more specifically, outdoor tea parties. You can do them indoors, of course. It's just extra festive. A friend of mine who lives in Virginia, she did a tea party outside. Shout out to Chelsea if you're listening. And I just saw pictures from it and I was like, that is the most magical. It was for little girls. And I was like, that is the most magical thing. And so I've done a couple of them, and they've just been really, really fun. So I thought I would talk about that.
When you do tea parties, do you do it for a group of girls, or do you do it for ladies your age, or how do you put on a tea party?
So I've done it. The two I've done have been, and I have some coming up this summer as well, but the two I've done have been mother-daughter tea parties. So I did one that was just kind of a celebration of May a couple years ago. And then this last, it was end of summer, I did a tea party for my daughter who's turning 5, and invited her friends and then their moms. So it was another mother-daughter. But I'm going to do one in June that's just girls, just little girls. And so, yeah, just whatever.
A great idea. And so perfect when the weather is beautiful enough to just throw tables and tablecloths up outside and just enjoy the sunshine.
Yeah, it's been really fun. And it's funny because speaking of weather, Idaho weather, as you know, is not
tricky,
super something to rely on. But every time I've been like praying, and it'll be like last minute where it's like a super windy day. I remember the one in May, and I was like, we're going to have to do it inside. We're going to have to, but I was like, I really want to do it outside. And then it was like last minute, it warmed up and I put everything outside and it was actually hot. I remember it being like almost too hot. And I was like, earlier when I was setting up and I was like thinking, should I do it outside? It was windy and cold. So God's been really kind. So pray, people, is my first tip to you.
It doesn't start snowing or something random.
Yes, exactly. Hailing.
It is May. Yes. Hailing. Yeah. Speaking of, when Max, my youngest, is playing lacrosse and he started the season in the first home game, I think it was the first home game, we're sitting there bundled up. I knew it'd be cold, but it starts raining ice balls. I mean, I guess it's called hail, but it's not any kind of hail I've ever seen.
It's not your average hail.
It wasn't your average hail.
Those are so weird when that happens.
Also, the sun would shine, and then it would rain ice balls. And then the sun would kind of shine. It wasn't warm, but the sun would peek out from behind clouds and rain ice balls. It was the weirdest, strangest weather I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And then fast forward to the end of the season, which it's not even a long, long season.
Yeah.
I mean, I was sitting out in shorts and a t-shirt and have a small sunburn.
Yep. That sounds like Idaho weather.
Yeah. So yes, it's becoming beautiful around here.
Yeah, it really is.
So tell us what you serve at a tea party. When you think of gathering up all your food and drinks, tell us the basic menu that you would pick.
Yeah. So I do, and I like food that kind of, doubles as a centerpiece. So I like to do a blackberry lavender cake with white chocolate buttercream. And it's a half-baked harvest recipe.
That sounds delicious.
It's incredible. It's so good. It's you do like a blackberry lavender jam and then you drizzle it like in the layers. And and the buttercream has so much butter. And it's just perfect. It's just the best. And it's really fun because when you're frosting it, you have, I like, using smaller, cake tins. Mm-hmm. And so you can, between every layer, if you do the blackberry jam and buttercream between them and then drizzle it down the sides. And then when you're smoothing the frosting on the sides, it also kind of creates this really cool watercolory effect with the jam mixed with the white buttercream. Mm-hmm. So it's really fun. You can do different things on top, and
I've done beautiful. And you can't mess it up. I mean, you're not trying to keep the jam from showing.
No, you're not. And if you do mess it up, it'll still taste great.
Nobody cares.
If it's not beautiful, just throw some I've done honeycomb on top of it with pansies. So that was really cute. And you can make a cake look decent,
you could
even if it's not your best. Yeah, exactly. And that's so cute. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so just any of the ingredients, because the blackberry lavender jam has honey in it, so that's why I did the honeycomb. And then I think I've done blackberries on top before. So you just have fun with that.
Okay, that's going to be one of my must-make summer desserts.
Yeah.
I've never made that one before.
Yeah, it's really, really good. It's one of my favorite cakes. Yeah.
And this is why we have guests and we have this podcast, because I love knowing all of the favorite things.
Yes. Yeah. This is the Half-Baked Harvest. I feel like her dessert, she really knows how to just make them extra in a really, really good way,
She really
which I love an extra cake always.
I don't mind extra cake.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Okay, so a cake, and what else?
So I do cake, and then I have this recipe. So macarons are stressful they were to me, but I found this recipe that are just called the classic French macaron. I found it on Pinterest of all places. And it goes through very specific instructions. So it's beat the egg whites for 2 minutes, then stop, then add, the sugar, and then beat it for this much until there's, it tells you what to look for, but also time amounts, which helps them turn out. They're not always perfect, but I think they're really cute. And they kind of add to the glamour of a tea party.
Yes. And that does sound pretty reliable.
Yeah, it is. And I've made them
easy to follow.
Yeah. And I've made them several times, and they've turned out decently every time. So, and I'm always surprised. I'm checking the oven, it's going to work again. It's a miracle. So, and then what's fun with the French macarons, you can do flavored buttercream if you want I just do a vanilla buttercream. But you can add flavors. But if you just do vanilla and you want to make them a little more fun, you can add food coloring because I did green ones once that were kind of a light green. And then I did a pink cake. So it just was just adding some variation,
color,
basically.
Which you might play into your centerpiece.
Yes.
The flowers you're decorating with, or if you have candles, that would make it fun.
Yes.
You could pick your color theme.
Exactly. And just, when you do that, also I recommend AmeriColor is a food coloring, and it's not just the ones you buy at, Walmart where it's red, green, blue, and yellow. Mm-hmm. They have gorgeous colors of blush and deep, midnight colors. And they have a really huge range, and I really like them.
Where do you order them from?
I ordered with a friend. I think we just ordered off their AmeriColor website, but I'll have to check on that. And I can let you know.
Okay. I have not heard of that. I've done Wilton before, because the ones in Walmart, I believe, I haven't bought any in a long time, but it seems like they have more liquid to them. Yeah. And the Wilton is more of a gel or a paste.
The AmeriColor is the same.
But I don't know how vast their color scheme is. The Wilton, I don't know. I mean, they may have a lot, but the AmeriColor, that would be really interesting to check out.
My friend who does incredible cakes, Brie, she does palette knife painting. And so you need, she does all the different colors. And so she was the one who recommended those, and they turn out incredible, especially when she's doing it.
Okay.
She's very skilled.
Yes.
Yeah. So those are really fun.
Okay. So cake.
Yes.
Macarons.
Cake, macarons. And then I like to do something that's not sugar.
That's true. You need something to balance it.
Yeah. So I usually do a charcuterie spread, and you can have so much fun with this. You could do it down the center of the table and then have, the macarons and cake on a platter. I've done it on just a wood cutting board, where I have a really big cutting board that I just did stuff on. So I usually do a sourdough loaf. But if you don't do sourdough, you can do Dan Leader's 4-hour baguettes, which have turned out great every time.
Is that one you buy, or is that a recipe?
No, it's a recipe, and it's on Pinterest. And my sister recommended it to me. And then Caleb, my husband, he really likes making them. So he's kind of the baguette king in our house. And if we do a charcuterie night, he's like, I got the baguettes. And so they're basically Caleb's baguettes at this point.
Tell him I need to, make sure that this is really true. So we'll have to try them sometime.
He would love to make them.
That's amazing.
So you can do sourdough or a baguette. I mean, you could buy a loaf of bread, crackers, whatever, however you can make it easier, harder on yourself. I like sourdough because it's really easy, and you can do it, mix it up the night before, then bake it in the morning. And then if the tea party's later in the day, it's you don't have to worry about it except for cutting it, right before. And then I do a salami rose. Have you seen those?
I have seen them.
Yeah. And the one thing I like about that is I love doing things in advance. Mm-hmm. That's cause I get anxious if it's not done in advance.
When you have young children, you never know when you're trying to get the last minute things done, they're still going to need you. They're still going to need things. And so having lots taken care of beforehand is helpful.
Is really helpful. Yeah. And, so you can kind of look up, I think on Pinterest how to do it. I don't know, remember exactly where I saw how to do it, but you basically take a wine glass and form them around the wine glass, around the rim of the wine glass until it looks like a rose. And what I just did is I flipped it like upside down, but kept the wine glass on top of the salami. Mm-hmm. And then wrapped like the cheese and everything else that was on the charcuterie board, grapes, apples, and just wrapped it and stuck it in the fridge. So that could be done like the morning of, and then it kind of holds its shape too once you take the wine glass off. Yes. I hope that makes sense, because without the visual, it's kind of like, what? Well,
I bet YouTube or Pinterest or somewhere would have the instructions, but it does make sense that once you form it might just go right back to its normal shape if it doesn't hold that way for a little while. Especially when you start eating it, it definitely unfolds quickly. So I imagine if you weren't to refrigerate it, it wouldn't hold its shape great. Mm-hmm. So then, I kind of mentioned apples, fresh fruit. The one I did, it was like the 1st of September. So basically end of summer, we have plum trees in our backyard. And so I picked a bunch of plums. They're little plums. I picked them. I left the stems and leaves on them and then kind of rubbed them off because they have that little film on them. And then just put them in like a wooden platter, and it looked so pretty. Like I didn't do anything. I just like clipped them. So use what you've got. I mean, those were in my backyard and they were super pretty. Table decor and good to eat. Yes, exactly. So if you have anything like that, or, whatever is in season, just go for that. And then, the other thing that I really would recommend, especially in the summer, like midsummer, when it's hotter, is doing a labna, which I have never made. So that's mine. But my mom had made some, and she knew I was doing this tea party. So she was like, I'll drop off the labna for you, that she had some left over. And it was incredible. Like, especially the adults, the moms that were there were like, this is so good. Okay. Tell us about what that is. Cause I have never heard of it or seen it until I moved to the Northwest. Yeah. Yeah. And maybe I just missed it, but yeah, I hadn't until recently. Like my mom and her friends started making it, and it's so good, but it's really easy. I've heard. I have not made it myself, so disclaimer. But you basically take full fat Greek yogurt and then you strain it through a cheesecloth. Okay. So you put the cheesecloth in a strainer in a bowl, and then you put the full fat Greek yogurt and let it like strain overnight for like 24 hours. And then it just has this great consistency. And you do it salt. You mix the yogurt with salt first before you strain it, but that's the only thing. So it's just salt and full fat Greek yogurt. And the salt even pulls some of the liquid out further than it normally would. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know how all it works, because it seems like a miracle to me, honestly. Like, I don't know how it works, but it's really cool. And then, when that process is done, then you can do like olive oil and fresh mint on top. You can do olive oil and za'atar seasoning, or olives. Like people do there's a lot of ideas on Pinterest for what to do on top of labna, and then just sourdough with it is so good. Sounds amazing. It's really, really good. And it's just that cold. It's like cold and refreshing, and a really good combo with the rest of the stuff. Does it taste like yogurt, or does it taste more like a cheese? It's more like a cheese, but I don't know. It's almost it's like half and half. It's delicious. Yeah, it's kind of like trying to describe clotted cream. Like I can't describe that. Right. Except for when I had it in England, and then I was like, I want to eat this on everything. Yes. My sister, she lived in England, and she was like,
I was like eating it on like biscuits or crackers and stuff. And she's like, why are you eating all my clotted cream? And I was like, because it's so good and you can't get it in America. I got to fill up on this. Probably went back to America like weighing like 10 pounds more, but that's okay because it was worth it.
It was so worth it.
Yeah. So
well, this is it Labna or Lebna? Labna is something that may be worth it for me to try and eat a gallon of.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend.
I'm gonna have to try this.
Yeah.
I'll have to get a good recipe. So, I mean,
yeah, I saved one to send to you.
Okay.
So
good.
Yeah.
I definitely need to try this.
Yeah. It was the one that my mom described it to me and she was going to write it down. And I was like, I found the exact one, so you don't have to worry about it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So really good.
And that is a good savory.
Yeah.
You know, because like you say, if you have a lot of sweet things, you want to balance it with something salty, something. Do you do any, like when you do your charcuterie board, you mentioned that, do you do any vegetables or no?
No, I usually,
it probably wouldn't go.
Yeah, I usually don't. I'm sure you could do something fun with like peas or like, I don't know, something if your garden's growing, because my mother-in-law is really good at, you know, coming up with stuff to do with that. And I remember when she was like picking, I think it was the beans or something in our garden and she made something fun with it. So,
yeah. But
yeah, I haven't done vegetables with it.
Well, with the tea party, it doesn't really seem like it would fit. If somebody's doing like a wine and cheese night or something, you know, you can do charcuterie boards that have maybe a different drink where it would go a little bit better. But that sounds so fun. Yeah.
And that's like the food side of it. And then I usually do tea and something caffeine free, like a mango passion fruit Tazo tea, you know, which is good for little girls. You can do something classier if it's for older women, whatever. And then I've done pink lemonade. But one thing that I did in the one in September is at Costco, they had these small bottles of sparkling cider or sparkling spider, as my daughter calls it. Sparkling spider.
Her uncle
We're
is
back.
Gordon
We're circling
Wilson.
back.
We're circling
to the
back
spiders.
to Bug Night.
Yeah, exactly. But they were like these little small, like individual glass bottles of sparkling cider. And that made it really cute. It just
special.
looked for the aesthetic. And I think it felt fancy to the girls too.
For sure.
They're like, I have my own bottle.
Yes.
So that was really fun. And then I usually have like water and, you know, if you get thirsty after all of the cake and macarons, it might happen.
I had a listener, I think it was an email she sent, it may have been a message on Instagram or something, but she said that when she does a dinner and there's small children there, that she has these small little pitchers.
Yeah.
The children can pour their own water.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And I guess they must be really tiny, not too clunky.
Yeah.
She said if it's just water, it doesn't matter if there's a little bit of spill, but they're so proud.
The independence that brings.
Yes, like I get to pour my own water.
Yeah.
What?
My 1.5-year-old would love that.
That was a great idea.
Yeah, that's really cute.
Some little tiny pitchers that would be just right for small hands and let them refill their own glasses.
Yeah, I've done little, like when my niece comes over to play, sometimes they'll do a little tea party, and I've done in a little, you know, it's like a gravy boat size dish and just steep, just for convenience sake, because I actually don't have a good teapot. Mm-hmm. Surprising that I'm talking about tea parties when I don't have this, but next on my list to find. But I'll just put it in a gravy boat, and they like that too, because they just pour it themselves. They're like, can we get a refill? The gravy boat. So, yeah.
And if they can pour it themselves, they're probably drinking a lot because they're really wanting to do that again a second time.
Exactly.
So if you wanted to drink water,
down this quickly. Yeah.
Let them pour it themselves. They'll get lots of water down.
Yeah, very true.
Well, okay. And for your tea, do you serve black tea? Do you and let people have their own like sugar cubes or sugar bowl?
Yeah,
or cream, or how do you do it officially?
Yeah, so I had cream on the table. I had it just a little. I thrift shop a lot, so I have various random dispensers of liquid, for lack of a better word, because they don't have a specific use. So I did like heavy cream in like a glass pitcher, and then I had the sugar in the raw, which I thought was fun. I'm like, whatever makes me feel like fancier, I'll do it. So sugar in the raw, and that's what I did. And then with little girls, I just did the mango passion fruit tea, and I'd probably expand on that. But yeah.
I one time had tea and kind of had a setup, and I don't really know official English tea, but I was trying to think of all the things,
Yeah.
the cream, but also some lemon slices, because
Yes.
people do lemon in their tea.
Yes.
The different sugars. And I just had the idea, I'm going to try them all.
Yeah.
And it tasted fine, but then I quickly learned that maybe you shouldn't put lemon in with cream.
Yeah.
Because then I had this nice curdle. Balls
Yes.
of cream
Totally.
floating in my tea.
Yes, I learned that lesson when I was working at a coffee shop, and it was like, oh, if you make a spritzer, which is like, if you do like a lemon or Italian soda, which is with cream, then it might curdle. And I'm like, that's a appetizing drink. You're welcome.
Yeah, it was a little strange. I
Yeah.
drank it, but I was like, just don't look. It still tastes fine.
Yeah, my brother-in-law is British, and he's very like he's like a tea.
He's an expert.
He's an expert, yeah. And so I've heard that it's like you only do, English breakfast, I think, goes with the lemon, but Earl Grey, you're supposed to have black. I don't remember what it is, but I know there's British rules.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Because
I should look it up, yeah.
There's a long tradition,
ask him. Yeah.
of how to do things, and it does make sense.
Found
You
the
would
best
do a
way.
little bit different for breakfast than you would for the afternoon.
Yeah.
Or maybe an evening would be even different. I don't know. So
Yeah,
I'll
no,
have to
exactly.
find out.
Yeah. And one other thing that's it's not really part of the menu, but I think it's really fun to do a party favor. And normally I am the type of person to be like, party favors extra. Like, when am I going to go to the dollar store? Which is great. But to me, I don't feel like going to the dollar store. So I'm like, it's not worth the trip. But some of the things that I liked doing was one time I did little plant starts. So I went to the lady at Cactus Computer in Moscow. She will just give away plant starts. And I've asked to pay, like I've been like, can we get some jade plants? Like we'll pay. And she's like, take them. Like she has them in the window, which is funny. But I did those. So, I mean, you could buy them, you could start them yourself, but that's what we did for Iona's birthday. And we did I had a little cup, just a plastic cup with dirt, and then the little
That is such
plant
a great
start.
idea. And
Yeah.
so inexpensive.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it really was. And so if you're good, like it's pretty easy to start, like jade and stuff like that. So, and I have a black thumb, so that's like saying something. If I can do it, you can do it. I've done that before, but with those ones I just got from her, and that was really helpful. And then I also did like a little string with a name tag on it. So it was like the plant and then the name tag, and they could just take it home. And then it was labeled, and it was just like really easy. So that was fun. And then another time I did bows and scrunchies that I made so the moms got like scrunchies that matched their daughter's bow, which was really...
That's so special.
It was really fun to do because it's pretty easy. It's like you just sew, rectangles together and then tie it, and then you're like, the gift, and they're like, yay. But I like things that are fun, like pack a punch for being easy. And so those were some of the ideas as like party favors, but you can really do like whatever your gifts are, do something fun with that. Get creative.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, so-
great ideas, plural.
Yeah, so it's just fun. You could even buy like lace, and make bows and do stuff like that. So just whatever comes to mind.
Hot tips.
Yes, yeah.
Hot tips. I love it. Okay, so I think you've talked about the shortcuts, just pre-making things, buying things. Obviously you can make the bread, but you could buy some bread or buy some crackers.
Yeah.
Obviously buying fruit makes it quick, because a lot of the charcuterie type stuff, it's just a symbol.
Yeah.
Washed and prepped the day ahead.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing for that is the cake. And this is my sister-in-law, Ashley. She would freeze, like once the cake comes out of the oven, then you let it cool for like 15 minutes, but it can still be warm. Mm-hmm. Then you wrap it in saran wrap and then wrap it in tin foil and throw it in the freezer. And it makes the cake super moist.
So you don't let it cool.
So you don't let it cool completely. Oh. It can be kind of warm. And then when you are ready to frost it, so this is nice because you can make it the day before or, 2 days before. And then you get to do kind of the fun stuff the day of. So you're like setting up and frosting a cake, and it takes the stress of like, what about if the cake flops or like falls in or does something weird? But if you do it 2 days before and then freeze it, then it's great. So
you know that you've gotten your cake out of the pan. It's not
yes,
stuffed and
exactly.
breaking apart.
Like, be sweating profusely as company arrives. No.
Right. And you're serving dump cake.
Yes. And then macarons can be made. I was looking, it has on the recipe I'm going to send you. It has, you can store them like 24 hours at room temperature, 3 days in the fridge, I think, and then up to like weeks in the freezer, like assembled, I believe. So that's really easy. And so anything that you can do ahead is like, do it.
Makes it easy. And then you think, I can do this again.
Yeah. Yeah. It totally.
It makes it
exactly.
fun to think about doing it a second time if it wasn't just a complete stress madness.
Yes, exactly. And that really helps for me because I do I'm like, oh no, I don't want to, what about if it messes up? But if I can do it ahead, then I'm like, okay, I have time. I have time to come back to it. But yeah.
What is your best prep tip when you're thinking about having people over?
I would say I'm a big cleaner up as you go. I got that from my mom. And it's the best way. No, it's not actually. It just works for me. I like
to do that too. It makes it not so overwhelming.
Yeah. So, I mean, even for tea parties, for just regular hospitality, I like to clean as I go, wash dishes as I go. Like, you can throw something in the oven and wash 2 pans and dry them and put them away. And I always like to have an empty dishwasher, like when people arrive, because then like afterwards or in the morning, even I can leave the dishes overnight and then just load everything. But sometimes people will be like, no, let me help. And I'm like, okay, the dishwasher's empty,? And so I think that's my biggest thing is just do as much ahead as you can. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Great tip. What about showing warm hospitality? Your best advice for when you're trying to welcome people into your home? How do you make them feel welcome?
Yeah, I would say be in a position where you can just like relax. Like, again, it comes back to doing it ahead so that you're not like, when they come in, like
a stressed out mess.
Yes, exactly. So that you're not scrambling when they come. And, so that's the biggest thing. Also, it's kind of a prep tip-ish, but just have fun when it comes to tea parties and decorating like the table, because one of the things that I learned, I was setting the table and I have this really deep green colored linen tablecloth, which I just love, but it comes across as a very like Christmassy kind of, it's 100% linen. So it's light, but it's also like dark green. Mm-hmm. But I was like, oh, it'd be really cool if I could do this. But then I was like, oh, I'm going to have a light pink cake. Like, it was my daughter's birthday. So I had a really light pink cake and I was like, this is not going to work. And then I had like purple, like dark purple candles and a pink cake. And like, it was just, I had blue and white china. And I was thinking, I don't know if this is going to work, but it did. Also, my friend, she was cute because she's an incredible photographer. And she was like, I'd love to come take pictures of the tea party. And so she came to the tea party and like took really nice pictures. So it could just be her that made it look really good, but it did seem to look good.
All the colors just came together.
Yeah, they did come together, but I was second guessing myself as I did it. So you could be in a position where you're like, nix the tablecloth. Didn't work out. Mm-hmm. But I also say would just go big if, it's just fun to have extra.
Of color.
Yeah. Don't be afraid of color. Don't be afraid of like doing dark tones and like, like your jewel tones. And then with like a pop of pink, it looked cute, guys. I promise. It sounds,
she pulled it off.
Yeah. It worked out in the end.
You think about being all matchy, it's green and white.
Yeah. Yeah.
With a very small touch of pink. You can make yourself too themed. You don't have to always stick with the natural color palette.
Yeah.
Artists think outside the box.
Yeah. And I think that you can, if you just look at, Instagram or Pinterest, you can be like, okay, this is what, but one of the things I love about Becca and Rachel, my cousins, is that they're like, don't just like be like caught in this, like, oh, it's what I saw on Instagram, so I'm going to do it. And that's helped me a lot, like kind of branch out and be like, get inspiration from anywhere. And like, God obviously loves color.
Yeah, like look outside. Your door. Yes.
Yeah. And so it's fun to just, I'm grateful to them for just being like, cause I love a neutral, I do, but it's really fun to,
Well, and how are things ever created unless people if everybody's just copying everyone else, you're not going to create something or discover something new or a new flavor combination or a color combination or a way to decorate. And if you like it, go for it. Try it. And
exactly.
It's not going to be a flop. You know, the people coming to your tea party are going to love it. They don't really care if your tablecloth is green and your cake is pink.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I think one of the things that like a tea party can appeal, like if you're doing something outside where it's like very aesthetic, it can appeal to like, you know, you just want to do it for Instagram or something. Like if you have, that can be a temptation. And I know it's one that I've like struggled with before where it's like, oh, I'm going to do this and like take cute pictures. And so just think of like the people that you're hosting for. Like this is for them. This is not, it is great if you have like my friend offered to take pictures and I was like, of course, like I would love to have pictures. And Iona, my daughter, she was like, thank you so much for taking these pictures so I can never forget it. And I just was like, that's so cute. So it's very sweet to have pictures. And I'm not saying you shouldn't have them, but just think of like, what about if I didn't take pictures, would I still want to do this? And what would I do? And I think that's, especially for people my age, kind of like, it can be a real temptation to just think of Instagram or Pinterest or how it would look, you know, on the internet, and that's on social media, and that's not the right motivation. So I think that was helpful for me to be like, okay, I'm doing this for the people that are coming. I'm not doing this for, you know, social media.
Right.
So
and the
it's kind of a rabbit trail, but
but it's true. If that's your motivation, you should not let yourself post a picture.
Yeah. And that's what I did the first time. I think I posted a little, but I don't think I posted on Instagram because I was like, I just want to do this. I was kind of trying to pull myself out of
pictures that I'm breaking myself of having to have comments.
Yeah. And like, I post a lot, but I want to be like checking my motives and like not doing it too much. So I'm always like, it's always a you know, something that I want to have in my mind where it's like, okay, I'm going to pull back a little bit and just not. And then sometimes I'll post more.
But to show things to family and friends. It really is. It's a great tool.
Yeah.
But I love your reminder that, you know, just check what you're thinking of. If the whole time you're thinking of the way you're posing it or the ways you're posing yourself, you know, you know, a lot of times people are doing selfies or trying to take picture perfect image of something, you know, something going on in their life. And so, nothing wrong with that tool to share a memory with friends and family, but to be thinking
just
pridefully about it would be a temptation for sure.
Yeah. And if you're tended, you know, to do that, just like check your motives, like see what you're, and then you can, cause it's like, that was, what it is. That can be a temptation for me, but it's like, if I'm checking my motives, I'm not gonna be like, okay, I can't, you know, just, it doesn't mean you can never
for sure
do anything, but it's just good. It's a good reminder to always be, you know,
for sure,
keeping an eye on it.
I'm glad she took pictures because I'm going to ask for one. I've got to see this.
The green and pink, you'll see. No,
the green and pink. We're going to have to. This may be my Instagram post announcing this episode. If I can get a picture from her, because I am definitely wanting to see it now.
Yeah. Well, my friend made it look beautiful. She did. I was like, did it look this good?
The eye. They really do. They can. They just, know how to angle things and just know how to do it in a way that the rest of us don't.
Yeah, that's very true.
What is your must-have kitchen item and where can we find it?
Okay, so I have kind of three things, but one of them I think I mentioned kind of briefly is doing a smaller cake pan. I have the Fat Daddy-O's 6-inch pan. You can get them on Amazon. But they just make your cake more fun. And I've done a cake for a baby shower, which I had 3 of those, 3 layers. And then I cut each layer in half. So I had a 6-layer cake and it was the blackberry lavender buttercream cake. It was just like extra festive. I felt like, so that's one thing that I'm always great. I always use it. Like I never use the bigger, I don't know what's a normal size, like a
8 or 9 inch,
8 or 9 inch. So I haven't used that in like 10 years. So I really like the 6-inch. I think it just makes it gives it a little, height.
It looks like a tea party.
Yeah, it does. It does look like a tea party. And it's just fun in any kind of cake you don't. I've done chocolate where you do like a bark, like chocolate bark on the sides and like just really,
and you can do a 3-layer?
Yeah. Normally I would do a 3-layer unless I feel like cutting the layers in half, which sometimes I'll do. And they cut when they're frozen, back to my prep tip. So you can cut them when you pull them out of the freezer, and then it's not as crummy.
That is genius.
Yeah.
I have never done that.
Do it slowly.
Okay.
But you can do it. So
Do you find it easier than cutting it when it's warm?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Because it's like just super firm.
Okay,
and so you can
tip
just,
from a baker, and I thought I could bake, but I don't think I've ever put a warm cake in. I've always let it cool completely, which probably takes away, it does dry it out a tiny bit. And then secondly, I've never cut it frozen.
Yeah. So I think I use a serrated knife because you just saw through it, and then you can have the layers are pretty even. I mean, you do like I said, do it slowly, but that's my other hot tip.
Lots of hot tips today. I love it.
Yeah. And then the one thing, cause it's good for tea parties. It's good for birthday cakes, baby showers. I just think it adds, a little something to the cake, but for everyday hospitality, this is kind of random, but, I got an IKEA cheese grater for for our wedding. It was I don't even know if it was on the registry, but that's what I got, one of those. And it is like my favorite. Like I use it all the time because we do a lot of fresh grated Parmesan. And not that we ever have leftover cheese, but if we did, we could store it. It's the one that has like the plastic thing that you just grate it into. So it's has the lid is the grater, and you can zest easier. My kids can grate on it. Axum is a grating pro, super fast. And it's not like the one that stands up that falls to the side and you can never find a plate or a bowl that fits it. And it's very annoying.
Cheese is flying everywhere.
Yes,
You have a hand grater.
Yes, exactly. So
I love that idea.
Yeah, I was just thinking, because I was like, oh, what should I recommend? And then I was like, the cheese grater.
Cheese grater that's the lid that goes straight into a container.
Yeah, and it has the two different, you can get it on Amazon. It doesn't have to be IKEA. I think they're $10 on Amazon. And it zests lemons great. I just did something with, I don't even remember what it was, but it was something with the zest of 2 whole lemons, and it was super quick.
Do you have different lids or tops with different size grating?
Yeah. So the bigger ones I do for Parmesan, and then it has a little tiny zest lid.
A zest lid versus a grating lid.
Yeah. So that's my other one. And then
that's a great tool.
Yeah, I really like it. We do a lot of Parmesan apparently, and cheese and soup. We're a big soup family. And so adding Parmesan in at the end or whatever, it's just, we use it a lot.
It wouldn't be I don't think I have the title right, but I think I was reading about maybe the Italians. Of course, it'd be the Italians, but different chefs also talk about Parmesan being the king of cheeses, the perfect cheese.
I think it is.
They have a title for it, and I'm butchering it.
I would agree.
I'm after I read that, I was reading an article, and it was that's true. It's just perfect for so many things.
Clump.
It's salty, it's savory, it's not too, it's mild. It's amazing. I love fresh Parmesan, not the green can, guys. We are not talking about the green can.
Yes, exactly. Which was what I grew up with. But then my mom started doing more hospitality and just got the fresh Parmesan. I was like, what have we been doing?
What is this amazing
And
food?
you can get a big block of Parmesan from Costco, which is great. It's hefty. I mean, we go through it super fast, but it starts out big. I was grating cheese, Parmesan the other day, and one of my kids, I think it was Mordecai, my 3-year-old, and he just walks by the counter, grabs the chunk of Parmesan, and I was trying to make the Parmesan stretch, and he just walks away with the chunk of Parmesan, the end, and just
an apple,
and he's just chewing on it. We're we need that back. Sorry, kid. I support this decision of yours to just eat Parmesan, but we are going to need it. So yeah.
Do you ever throw the rind in soup?
I have not, but my mom has been, I feel so many people in this community, I feel so blessed, and I'm so glad you're doing this podcast because it's a treasure trove.
There's so many good tips.
Yeah. And so my mom she's one person I always call for how much meat, Mom? Is this going to be enough pork butt for this many people? And she's yeah, it should be. And she gives me but she was saying that she'll do that for a bolognese. throwing in like the rind of Parmesan and stuff like that. And I've thought about doing it with soup because I have a lot of soups that I use Parmesan in.
I guess it gives it the flavor or some like a mild Parmesan flavor potentially.
Yeah. I haven't done it, but I definitely want to try it and see if it would work.
Too, and I want to try it.
Yeah. So,
and I'm sure there's people that are listening that've done it for years. Like, of course you don't waste the rind.
Yeah.
Of course you throw it in soup.
Yeah, but then I'm like, I'm not sure what to try. I think I haven't made bolognese in a while, but I haven't done it yet. But I was like saving rinds, and I was like, I'm not using these. I need
Give
to
him
do something. Yeah, exactly. Here, kid, or Alki is a teether. Start him young.
That's true.
Yeah,
he'll be the one that digs in their fridge and finds the Parmesan.
Yeah, exactly. Where is it?
My favorite food ever.
Find it. Yeah.
Real quick, going back to the cake, how do you adjust the temperature? Or I'm sorry, not the temperature. The time for the smaller cake pan.
I just the same. And what's nice is I haven't changed anything to it. I mean, I always test it when it's done to make sure. Sometimes I'll do it a little longer, but I don't think it's because of the size. But what's nice is that I can just do all three on one rack because they're small. And so I just fit them all in one rack, which you can probably do too, but I haven't cooked with them in so long that I don't remember. But then you don't have to switch anything. So I don't
about
change.
The same amount of time as the recipe says. That makes sense because I bet they're a little bit taller.
Yeah, they are. Thicker. I think it's like a 6" by 2" the pans that I have. So 2" high. So you just fill them and they are pretty. Yeah, they're pretty.
So instead of 2 cake pans, you're putting them into 3 though. The same.
Yeah, but it's the same amount of batter. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, exactly.
Good to know.
Yeah. So that's kind of, it's cool how that works out.
My oven cooks a little bit hot, so I always, like some people out there, if you know it cooks just a little bit hot, I always check it about 5 minutes ahead of time on a new recipe. My oven usually is always done 5 minutes ahead of time.
Mine is the opposite. It's cold. And I'm like, my sister, Heather, she's like, oh, your stupid oven. I was like, it's not hot enough. Because she had an oven that was like super, super hot that would just cook it so fast.
And then I guess maybe if you put a thermometer in there and like, let's say you're setting it for 350 and really you need to put it at 360. Maybe you could figure that out and that would really be 350.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But I have tried on my oven to set it at it's 400. I know it'll cook kind of hot, so I'll bring it down just a little bit.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't work out.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah. I don't know.
I probably need to do a scientific experiment and like use a thermometer and all these things.
Yeah.
It just still doesn't. It's not right. Something about it. It's like I need to keep it at the 400, 350 or whatever I'm setting it at and just bring it out a little early.
Yeah. Yeah. I know it. I wonder about the people who came up with the way to do things, and they were like, oh, that, like this temperature doesn't work. That's going to make this happen or whatever. And you're like, I wonder what this person life was like. Yes. Was that their life? Right. That they gave their life to finding the temperature of things. And Yeah,
that's true.
No.
Yeah, scientific research.
Yes.
Bless us all.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have a good story for us?
I don't know. I think one thing, it's not necessarily a story, but I feel like it's a story in my head, is you can kind of psych yourself out for hospitality. And so I play a trick on myself and I will just if I think about having people over, I love having people over. I love doing hospitality. It's so fun, but I can get myself in this weird, oh no, what if my baseboards are bad? And they look at my baseboards, or what about if my bathroom's not clean enough? What about if I don't have time? And I do this thing. And so I'll just be like, don't think about it. Just go invite someone for dinner and just do it. And then it's like the best because I don't know, I just get caught up in my head with it. And I think in this community, or if you listen to hospitality, podcasts or whatever, you can kind of get in this position where you're like, who am I to have people over? Little me, I can't cook for 40 people. I did it once and it was terrible. The chicken was, I guess that would be a funny story. We'll leave that one untold. But I have just been I'm going to start slow and just have, we're a family of 6 and we have little kids. And so just have smaller families over, and so you can build kind of those muscles. I think of it as a workout. And so I think it wasn't really a story, but just this is stuff that I've, thought about a lot as someone who's kind of getting into hospitality and wanting to do it more. And I see the importance of it, and the command to do it, and I love it. But I think that you can kind of be like, oh, I shouldn't, because I'm not very good,
I'm
or
not
like,
good enough.
I'm not good enough.
Experienced. Well, how do you get experienced at anything?
Well, exactly.
Keep doing it.
Yeah. And you could start slow, so that because you can look at people and be like, well, I'll never, like, they're so amazing, but it's like, that's great. Don't have that, like, look at them and be like, well, I'll just never try. Just be like, well, one day maybe I can get to a point, or even if I don't, maybe I'll get really good at having a family of 6 over. So that would be my my last thing to say, I think.
Well, for one, I have been to her house, and I never once thought to even look at the baseboards when I walked in.
Well, I'm glad.
When you're a guest, you actually are there just to enjoy the company, and you're visiting and talking, and you think about it, or I don't really think about it later, but now I'm thinking about it later. I'm like, I don't think I ever even went in the bathroom, never looked at a baseboard, don't remember anything about the cleanliness.
Well, it's funny because I'm the same. Like, if I go to someone's house, like, I'm like, this is great. Thank you for having us. Yeah. Like, I'm not like, oh,
she could have.
Did you see it? If anything, I'll probably be like, how are her floors clean? You can't have 4 children and have clean floors.
Right. Who are you? And to go back to the point about people who have been doing it for a long time, those people have done it over and over and over and over, but they remember back to the early days when they were young and in college or first married or whatever your same story is. Yeah. And they were not just this wild success who had 50 people over every other weekend and had, a 5-course meal and the most fabulous party ever, It's just not the case. Yeah. And those people being welcomed into your home are not expecting anything other than just a great visit. Right. Yeah. And you can put simple food in front of them. Yeah. And it's fine.
I think sometimes the best hospitality is like last minute. Like, I mean, anything can be a hospitality. Sometimes, like, when my husband travels, I've called a friend and been like, can I bring like KFC to your house so that we can so I don't have to be like alone. Yes. And that has been really sweet. Like, those memories are really sweet. You can have, there's so much that falls under, hospitality that I think that you can, don't be so focused on one type, that anything can be it. And
that's a great point about spur of the moment hospitality.
Yeah.
If you're opening your cabinets and somebody's coming over, you want them to come over.
Yeah.
Your husband's out of town. You want a friend to come over. You're going over there. Picking something up is just fine.
Yeah. We've done Panda Express.
We've picked up pizza, or we've ordered pizza for sure when we have families with kids coming over, like just very last minute. Like, hey, y'all want to come over?
Yeah.
Friday night after school or something when the kids were younger.
There's, once, this is like, sorry, it just came to mind. We came home from church one Sunday. It was, when I was in high school, and there are like our neighbors on our porch. They like also went to our church, but they were neighbors on our porch, and there was like smoke. I don't know if there was smoke coming out of the house, but all I know is that Mom left the beef stroganoff on the oven, and it burnt to it was like blackened, like completely blackened. And so our neighbors, who were also like went to the same church, they were like, come on over. Like, well, I think we did pizza with them. I don't remember, but it was like for like me and my siblings. Like, I've talked to Dane about this, where like it was like this like core memory where like we went over to their house, we watched some like Disney movie or something, and they just had us over, and we all smelled like burnt beef stroganoff. But it was just really special. Like, and it was such a last minute, but it was so like just sweet, because it was like, they're just like, come on over, like, you burnt your dinner, it'll be great, or burnt your lunch, come on over. And like the next day at school, we still smelled like burnt beef stroganoff. I remember people being like sitting next to me at lunch, being like, what is that smell? And I didn't tell them. So
right, because you hadn't washed your hair. Because hair holds smells.
Yeah. And I don't know, like, it was just, I think it was like our clothes. It was like everything. Like, it smelled up the whole house. Wow. So thankfully we got out of there, but we still had to wear whatever clothes or was our hair something. Yes. So anyways, but that was a really, it doesn't have to be super planned.
So hot tip, if you last minute have some family moving into town, or there's somebody just burnt their dinner, or you have a family who's talking about wanting to come over and they have 5 little children, go pick up some pizza.
Yep.
Order it in.
Don't feel guilty about
Don't
it.
feel guilty. There's Papa Murphy's.
Yep.
You can just buy
Use
that.
a brownie mix if you want dessert, ice cream. There's easy stuff.
Papa Murphy's, you just bake it home.
Yeah.
And you can arrange whatever because they make it, well, I guess all pizza is made to order. I don't know. Sort of. But they can put whatever toppings you want.
Yeah.
You can do a white sauce versus
It's
a
good
red
too.
sauce if somebody's
Not bad.
allergic to tomatoes or something. Yes. In fact, I love the pink sauce. You can mix white and red. It's
that
probably
sounds
not
good.
on the menu, but you can mix white and red and call it pink sauce. And I think we top that one. What do we do with that one? They have a chicken bacon artichoke that's definitely good for
that sounds
adults.
good.
Chicken bacon artichoke is delicious for adults. I think I might put the pink sauce on that one because the white sauce, it's good by itself too, but I don't know. Anyway, combinations. You could ask the people at the store what some of the favorites are. But anyway, hot tip.
It's so true. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mallory.
Thank you so much. This was so fun.
It's so fun to have you. Until next time.